I'm sure you've seen this image going around. It's such a wonderful image. I'm not even like being sarcastic. This brought me back so hard to when I was practicing face angles back in ye olde days. A lot of people are memeing on it, but it actually like, look at how good the eyes, the eyebrows, the face, the placement of the nose and mouth. Like I feel like this was referenced here, this little bit right here with the face, but they didn't have a good reference for the jawline and how everything would connect in the back of the head. And so therefore they like tried to connect everything as best they could, right? This is basically what I used to do, you know, when I was learning art too. It's just like we do our best because this type of angle, and I've seen other artists talk about this too, is very humbling because it helps you understand where the gaps are in your practice of anatomy by trying to draw something that you might be used to drawing, right? You might be used to drawing like old Frieren over here, her standard like 3/4 angle, because there's plenty of reference and therefore plenty of practice that you get drawing from this angle. But then suddenly when you have to draw it from a completely different or strange angle, everything gets flipped over, right? You don't understand where to go with all of the parts. So I figure this could be a good practice for studying face angles. Let's draw the face of our person is clearly looking upper left, right? So that's where you want your lighting to come. I feel like drawing the vertical line for where the nose rests is an easy placement to start with. And after that, you can draw more indications of like the skull if you want. But a lot of people like to draw the eye line in, like where the eye sits horizontally on the skull. It's a pretty severe angle, so I might want to like push it up. This plane right here with the nose, the underside of the nose is highly informative as to the angle of the rest of the face. How does one draw her tiny little smile from this angle? Curves. Right, a lot of people like to draw this line to show the profile of the face, where it ends, and where the side of the head begins. Sometimes it's drawn at a pretty severe angle, like this. So if you're thinking about the side of the face kind of like sloping off, like here, then the ear should follow the angle of the side of the face and not continue with this line up here. Where they have it, the ear is like on the similar plane as the eyes, like this, but that's not how it should be. It should be on a different plane, given that it's on the side of the head. We drawn like the jawline, connect with the neck, got her little dot eyebrows. Hairline would be basically all the way up here. And then for the collar, important here, you want to curve upward. If you curve downward like this, the angles won't match. It will look more like the camera is shoved up against her neck in order to have the line curve downward. Yeah, drawing anatomy is definitely a lot of like push and pull. You're clearly someone who genuinely wants to get better at art, because otherwise why would they try such an unsafe angle? It'd be so safe to continue just drawing it like this instead of, you know, at an angle that really challenges them. All right, so here's the vertical line I was talking about, or that where the nose rests. I'll draw a different color line for draw the outside, and you know that it rounds off. Then you draw in your horizontal line for the eyes. If you're not comfortable with the angle that you're drawing at, drawing a box like is not bad at all. Right, you can start introducing curves and stuff later, and then draw. So then I drew the line for indicating where the side of the head meets the front of the head, right? These are two different planes. So I drew a line there to indicate that there's a separation. And then we can continue this line here to show where this horizontal line will end up. And so then you have an idea for the placement of the ear, which is going to be about halfway along the side of the face, right? And by knowing where the ear is, even if it's an elf ear or whatever, you know where the jaw ends up needing to connect. The jaw's got to connect right here. And because it's an upward angle, there should be a little triangle for the chin. Yeah, there you can draw an extra line for the brow ridge, draw a line for the nose, a line for the mouth. And as you study figures, you'll have a better understanding of where to place these lines. But looking for like reference points is a great way of how you can pick up art anatomy. So if you imagine like draw the front of the face as like this kind of like pale yellow, right? This is one plane, and therefore all of the objects that you draw along this plane should be in line with each other, right? That's why all of these horizontal lines here are, for the most part, kind of parallel, at least at this angle. Once you curve off to the side of the face, right, against this green line, on the other side of this green line, this is considered the side of the face. So that's on a different plane. Everything along this plane is going to follow this line here. So the ear is going to follow this line. Anything with the ear, like the earring, her bangs, her long bangs that frame the face, they'll follow along this blue side. The chin is normally illustrated with a triangle. Whenever you draw the underside of the chin, try to find where the triangle is. So once you have this triangle here, then you know where the neck connects. So the neck is going to connect right here past the base of the chin. Obviously my guide isn't perfect. I have a long way to go when it comes to drawing anatomy too. But that's basically like the rough guideline that I follow. You know what's so cool for actually using guidelines? I just raw dog my drawings. I mean, there's something to that too, where a lot of people, like, they don't need guidelines. They intuitively grasp stuff like facial planes and things like that, or placement of where anatomy goes because they've drawn it so much. Sometimes I need guidelines for like an especially complex challenge, or if I really need to plan certain things. But every now and then I'm able to draw without guidelines, and I'm trying to get better with using guidelines and stuff. Sometimes people don't need it. If you feel like you need it, then use it, and if you feel like you don't, then, you know, still usually ends with me going, F it, we ball. Yeah, exactly. Then I guess we could do a little line art. I don't know. The Frieren series has pretty delicate line art, and I'm not the best at that. So I always draw that closer eyebrow, like a little too far back. You know, since we're at such a severe upward angle, draw her eyelashes. Draw the bottoms of her eyes with a slight curve going upward because it is an upward angle. It's like a lot of stuff that you have to think about that feeds into informing the angle of the face. All the details kind of feed into each other, right? The fact that you can see the bottom of the nose, the fact that her eyes are a little squished, that you can see the eyelashes from the bottom. If you're gonna give her super long eyelashes, the bottom of her eyes curving upward a little instead of downward. Show her round forehead. Oh, we mapped in her forehead a little. Drawing with Swan, that's sweet! I love that! Draw with me! Everybody, let me clean this up a little bit. We're a little messy out here. No, we gotta draw the ear before the jaw. And we gotta draw the hair. This is why it's important to look at references. List in the Discord, hell yeah! Yeah! That's so cute, Yoshi. I love the way you drew her eyes and her little nose. This is so cute. We got the triangle in there, hell yes! Yes, Yoshi. We got the chin triangle in there. The nose triangle and the chin triangle are very important. We're drawing an upward facing angle. That's so good. I'm so happy that you were drawing with me. Even the way I'm drawing it, I just realized the way I drew it, the angle isn't even as severe. I should push up her facial features even more if I want to more fully match the angle that they went for. They went in.